Good.
Just input that.
Jeez. Jeez.
Can I share my screen? Is my screen visible to everybody? Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Thank you, Prabhuji, for allowing me to conduct this session.
No, thank
Thank
you.
you to everybody for joining. And I hope we can continue together on many more such journeys in the future. So I will begin with a small prayer to the Lord. May I ask if I am audible to everybody?
Yes.
Yes?
Good. Yes.
Thank you. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Krishnam Kamalapatraksham Punyashravanakirtanam Vasudevam Jagadyonim Harim. Hare Krishna. The first verse that I just sang, Krishna is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, chapter 8, verse number 21. And these lines are have been spoken by Kunti Devi in the Bhagavatam. We know
You keep cutting out actually, Shruti.
again, is it okay now?
Yes.
I'll lower the volume, the background volume a bit. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Better?
Better now.
Okay. Just a minute. Let me check if positioning the laptop works better. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So yes, so the first verse that I sang just now was from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the second verse, I'm not sure as to where in the scriptures it occurs, but this is a verse that was taught to me by my mother-in-law, and I try and chant it every day. So I would like to thank my mother-in-law for teaching me this very beautiful verse. So the meaning of the first verse, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful salutations to Sri Krishna, who is the son of Vasudeva, the child of Devaki, who gives her and the universe pure joy. Boy of cowherd Nanda, and Govinda, who is a source of pure joy to the cows and to our senses. The meaning of the second verse, Krishnam Kamala Patraksham Punya Shravana Kirtanam Vasudevam Jagat Yonim Naumi Narayanam Harim. I wholeheartedly pray to the lotus-eyed Sri Krishna, listening to the singing of whose names brings the highest merit, Punya Shravana Kirtanam, and who is the son of Vasudeva, the very cause or root of this entire universe, Jagat Yoni, the ultimate shelter for all mankind, Narayana, and the remover of all sins, darkness, and sorrows. That is why the Lord is called Hari, the remover of all negativity. So the first thing that I would like to share today is a story which goes back to the time of the Pandya dynasty kings who ruled large parts of South India sometime between the 6th and the 14th centuries. So there was once a very righteous and very beautiful king of the Pandya dynasty who was once visited by his astrologer. And the astrologer, upon studying the king's horoscope, was shocked to discover that the king would soon die as a result of being bitten by a cobra. Now, the king's instant reaction was that of shock, but then when he gave the matter a thought, he decided that the least he could do was to spend his last days in the worship of God. So, with that mindset, he arrived at Guruvayur and he stayed there for a very long time, praying to Sri Krishna with great devotion. And he was so deeply engrossed in his worship that he lost track of time. And one day, he was astonished to find that the time of his death, as predicted by the astrologer, had passed by. He was puzzled. How is this possible? Didn't the astrologer predict that I would die of a cobra bite? And here I am, alive and hale and hearty. So, when he returned to his kingdom, he asked the astrologer for an explanation. Pray tell me what could possibly be the reason for whatever has happened. So the astrologer pointed out that the king had indeed been bitten by a cobra, as could be seen from the scars on his heel. But because he was so deeply absorbed in prayers to Sri Krishna at Guruvayur, where the divine serpent Ananta or Adisesha is always present, the king was saved from certain death. So great is the power of the Lord's mercy that the king did not even realize that he was being bitten by a cobra, and he was saved from what his astrologer had said would be a fatal blow for him. So the king was so overwhelmed by the Lord's mercy that he promptly returned to Guruvayur with laborers and building material, and he had the temple renovated and restored to its complete glory. The next
Very
aspect
good
of
pastime. And what was
sorry,
his name?
Prabhuji?
What was his name?
The name of the king is not mentioned,
Okay.
I don't believe, anywhere in historical records, Prabhuji.
Very nice pastime. Very nice pastime.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I'm glad to have shared it with everyone. Moving on, the next aspect of the temple that I would like to discuss today is aspects of the temple architecture. Now, we know every region in India has its own distinctive style of architecture when it comes to temples. Now, temples in Tamil Nadu are constructed in a very distinctive style. Temples in Kerala, their architectural style is different. Temples in Gujarat or Rajasthan or anywhere in the north of India, there the building style is unique and one of a kind. The Guruvayur temple is that the temple was first constructed by the divine architect Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma, the architect of the gods, he is said to have created or constructed the temple when it first came into existence. Ever since that time, it has been rebuilt and renovated all over the past thousands of years. So there have been many kings and many devotees who have contributed to the maintenance and the upkeep of the temple in their own way. So the first photograph that you see on the screen, if you see the tall, the golden pillar, the golden flagstaff, it is called the Dhwaja Stambha. Dhwaja means flag in Sanskrit and Stambha means pillar. So this is the golden temple flagstaff. It is about 110 feet tall, and this is the pillar on which the temple flag is hoisted during the annual temple festival every year. The temple festival takes place from somewhere between in the month of February and March, mid-February to takes place for a period of about 10 days. So the first photograph is that of the Dhwaja Stambha, and because it is so tall, it can be seen from quite a long distance from most places in Guruvayur town. The second photograph that you see on the screen, the one below, this shows the entrance to the Nalambalam, or the inner shrine of the temple. Now, Ambalam is a Malayalam word for shrine or temple, and the word Nal means 4, the number 4. So, Nalambalam literally means a temple or a shrine enclosed within 4 walls. So the Nalambalam is a word for the inner shrine. What you see in the second photograph on the screen is the entrance to the Nalambalam. The doors are, of course, closed in this photograph, but at most times during the day, except at most times during the day, in fact, all through the day, it is these doors are open, and these doors are closed only when the temple itself closes for the night. This is not the sanctum sanctorum, I must tell you. The Garbhagriha, or the Sanctum Sanctorum, as it is called in English, or the innermost shrine where the deity is actually present, is much further inside. This is only the entrance to the inner part of the shrine. The two tusks that you see in this photograph, they are the tusks of a very beloved elephant called Keshavan, who served the Lord for many, many years, but I will come to that story in a later session. So these tusks are here as a tribute to the elephant which served the Lord for more than 50 years. The elephant's devotion was such that it became legendary and an inseparable part of Guruvayur. I will share more about the elephant Keshavan in a later part of the series. Coming back to the temple structure, so inside the Nalambalam, as soon as we enter through these 2 doors, there are 5 stone pillars on each side, and the one immediately to one's left is considered most sacred, because it is believed that the legendary poet saint Sri Melpatur Narayana Bhattatiri, a saint and a poet who lived sometime in the 16th century in Kerala, it is believed that it was here that he sat composing the Narayaniyam, and it's said that he leaned against this particular pillar while composing the Narayaniyam. So as you enter, you can see a small brass plate on which there is an inscription saying that this is where Sri Narayana Bhattatiri sat composing the Narayaniyam, and the lamp is always kept lit at that spot as a mark of respect for the poet saint. The Narayaniam, I must mention, is a condensation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam, as we know, contains 18,000 verses, but the Narayaniam is a condensation which captures the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam in 1034 verses, a series of 100 chapters. So chapters are organized in sets of 10 or 11 verses, and each chapter is called a dashakam. Dasha meaning 10 in Sanskrit, and that is how the 1034 verses have been organized. As you progress further inside the Nalambalam, you have the Sri Kovil, or the central shrine, and deep inside the Sri Kovil is the Sanctum Sanctorum, or the Garbhagriha, which is where the deity of Guruvayurappan is present. There is a temple well, a small temple well to the right, to one's right, near the Sri Kovil. And it is this well, the water from this well is used for all the temple rituals, for cooking the daily prasadam, and for all other pujas and rituals throughout the day. This is believed to have the presence of Varuna, the god of the seas and the oceans. So the water in the temple well is believed to be sanctified by the very presence of Varuna. Then there are the steps leading to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and right below the Sopanam is a big sacred stone said to represent Indra, the god of rains. Now, stones such as these are spread throughout the temple at various spots. They are covered with a brass covering, and these stones are not to be crossed or stepped upon by one's feet, because they represent the various divine attendants of the Lord. So, as a mark of respect, we mustn't step on them or cross over them. And right, the Nalambalam, to the left of the central shrine, or the Sri Kovil, is the temple kitchen where the prasadam is prepared. Apart from the Garbhagriha, which houses the deity of Guruvayurappan, or Sri Krishna, there is also dedicated to Lord Ganesha inside the Nalambalam itself, and outside the Nalambalam. That is when we do the pradakshina, or circumambulating around the shrine. When we do that, there are two outer shrines, one for Durga Devi, or Bhagavati, as she is commonly called in Kerala. And there is also a shrine for Lord Ayyappa, a deity most commonly worshipped in the south of India. One another distinctive aspect of the temple architecture in Guruvayur is a very beautifully detailed granite sculpture of Ananta Shayanam, or Lord Vishnu, reclining on Adisesha on one of the walls inside in the inner shrine. Now, this sculpture is a replacement of a very old painting which was lost in the temple fire incident of 70. So this sculpture of Ananta Shayanam and the shrine of Lord Ganesha inside in the inner shrine in the Nalambalam, the sculpture and the shrine of Lord Ganesha were both designed and built by Sri S.K. Acharya, the architect of the Swami Vivekananda Memorial at Kanyakumari. Now, coming to the Great Fire incident, there was a fire that damaged large parts of the temple on the night of November 29, 1970. there is a gallery of lamps all around the outer walls of the Nalambalam. In the past, when this fire took place, that gallery of lamps was made of wood. In Malayalam, it is called Vilakku Madam. Vilakku is a Malayalam word for a lamp. So there must have been a stray spark of light that must have gone unnoticed. And when the fire started, it started spreading all throughout the temple. A few devotees in the vicinity of the temple noticed that the fire was spreading, and then an alarm was raised. It took about 4 to 5 hours for the fire to be put out, but it was finally brought under control. But the astonishing thing was the fire that spread across most parts of the inner shrine, the Nalambalam. It did not even touch the dry flower garland that was hanging on top of the central shrine or the Sri Kovil. It did not touch the central shrine at all. So the central shrine and the deity of Guruvayurappan were protected from the fire which damaged most parts of the temple. So that just goes to show how great the power of Guruvayurappan is. Because of this fire, to protect the deity from the fire that was taking place, the deity was temporarily removed. This is never done in any temple, but for the safety of the deity was temporarily removed from the central shrine. But once the fire was brought under control, the deity was installed again, and all the to understand what caused the fire and what could be done to undo the damage or repair the damage that was caused by the fire. A Deva Prashnam, as it is called in Malayalam, it is an astrological study or an astrological investigation. This was conducted to seek the Lord's approval for a number of temple renovations that the temple committee had proposed. And once all that was finalized, the then junior Shankaracharya of the Kanchi Kamakoti Peetham in Kanchipuram, in the Sri Jayendra Saraswati Swamiji to lay the foundation stone for the temple renovation on the 1st of May, 1971. And as part of the renovation, the gallery of lamps, which was earlier made of wood and which was the cause of fire, it was replaced with metal. It was entirely recreated in metal, in brass, or I think a combination of non-combustible material, metal basically. And this entire gallery of lamps contains 11 rows from top to bottom. You see a photograph on the screen. This is just part of it. It goes all around the central shrine, all around. So as you keep moving around the central shrine, as you keep doing a pradakshina, you can see all these lamps. These are fully lit in the evenings and during the nights. This brings back very fond memories actually, because during the night, there are 3 processions that take place, elephant processions that take place during the day. The one that takes place at night is the grandest of all. And during this time, there are these long wooden sticks with cotton cloth tied at the top. And the tip of the stick, which has the cloth, it is dipped in oil, and a few such sticks are handed out to the devotees standing close by, and they are allowed to light the lamps as the procession is taking place. So whenever I was present in the temple with my family, we were always so eager to go and grab hold of at least one stick somehow or the other, and have a chance to light at least a few of the lamps all around the shrine. So that was something that we really looked forward to.
How did they reach the top of the, because it looks quite high.
Yes, it is quite high. It's not very easy to reach. So around in the evening, there is a granite platform that runs all across below, but devotees are not usually, they are not allowed to climb on top of the platform. But the temple attendants, the temple attendants have to climb on platform so that they can pour oil in each of the lamps and keep and place the cotton wicks in each of them. So when they allow the devotees to light these lamps, they try and keep the sticks as long as possible. They are really right at the top of the stick, so that, and it is soaked in oil, so that once you light the end of the stick, you can try and reach as far as you can and light the lamps. So this entire 1,000 lamps all across, and this entire gallery of lamps was lit for the first time after the temple fire on the 14th of April in 1973. So that was the day when the renovations were considered to be complete. I would like to move on to the schedule of worship or puja that
We lost you again.
am I audible?
You are now. Yeah, we lost you for about 10 seconds.
Okay, sorry about that. Is it all right now?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, so I was talking about the daily puja or the daily worship that is offered at the Guruvayur temple. But before that, I would like to say a few words about Sri Shankaracharya. His recommendations for the daily puja that are strictly followed even to this present day. So we know there are 24 Ekadashis that occur throughout the course of a calendar year. 2 Ekadashis per month, one in the darker fortnight or the Krishna Paksha, and one in the brighter fortnight or the Shukla Paksha. So we have 2 Ekadashis in a month. So 2 into 12, 24 Ekadashis throughout the course of any given year. The Ekadashi that occurs in the brighter fortnight of mid-November to mid-December. Mid-November to mid-December. This month is called Vrishchika in the Malayalam calendar. And this Vrishchika Shukla Paksha Ekadashi is of special significance in Guruvayur, and that is why it is also called Guruvayur Ekadashi. I will be speaking more about the significance of Guruvayur Ekadashi later on in the series. But for now, I would just say, on one such Guruvayur Ekadashi day, Adi Shankaracharya, a divine philosopher and saint, he was flying through space by virtue of his yogic powers. He had gained a lot of yogic powers through constant prayer and meditation. And on this particular occasion, he was accompanied by Devarshi Narada. So Devarshi Narada suggested that they should offer their respects to Sri Krishna as they were passing by Guruvayur, and especially because it was the occasion of Guruvayur Ekadashi, which is so very special. But Adi Shankara did not pay much heed to Devarshi Narada's suggestion at that particular time. And he continued ahead. But for that small lapse in judgment, he immediately fell down to the ground. And he fell down in such a way that he found himself prostrating before the festive deity of the Lord, being taken in procession at that very moment on an elephant around the temple. And this was witnessed by all the devotees who were gathered there at that time. The Acharya, he realized his mistake at that point. He prayed to the Lord for forgiveness. He was so overwhelmed by devotion that he instantly composed and sang a prayer that today we know as the Govindashtakam. So I would now like to sing just one verse from the Govindashtakam.
Very interesting pastime. Never heard that. Very good.
Thank you. I would just like to sing one verse from the Govindashtakam now. Satyam jnanamanantam nityamanakasham paramakasham. Satyam jnanamanantam nityamanakasham paramakasham. Goshtha pranganaringanalolam anayasam paramayasam maya kalpitananakaram bhuvanakaram shvamanathamanatham pranamata govindam paramanandam. I salute that Govinda who is the embodiment of ultimate bliss, truth, knowledge, and wisdom. Who is unbound by limits of space, who as a child happily crawls around in the cowsheds, is free from all difficulties, being limited or bound by difficulty. One who appears without form and also in multiple forms or as the entire universe itself due to his own Maya or illusory power, who is the Lord and consort of Lakshmi and himself is without any superior. So this is the first verse from the Govindashtakam, a set of 8 verses that Sri Adi Shankaracharya composed at that moment, prostrating before Guruvayurappan. So Guruvayurappan then said to Adi Shankaracharya that temple worship, repeated chanting of his names, and listening to such chanting or singing were all different ways of expressing devotion to him. I think we have a verse, Prabhuji, which explains the 9 forms of devotion. Navavidha Bhakti. Shravanam Kirtanam.
Vishnu Smarana. Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
So the Lord re-emphasized this fact when he spoke to Sri Adi Shankara, and he then asked Adi Shankara to spend 41 days at the temple in prayer and meditation and draw up a proper plan for the daily worship at the temple. So it is this system of worship devised by Sri Adi Shankaracharya that was later recorded in a Sanskrit text sometime, I think, in the 15th or the 16th century. This Sanskrit text is called the Tantra Samuchaya, and this is strictly followed even to this day. No compromise is acceptable. The spot at which Sri Adi Shankara fell on the ground is, of course, one can never say what was the exact spot because the temple today is so very different from how it was in those days. but as a mark of remembrance of that episode and as a mark of respect to Sri Adi Shankaracharya, the ground is marked by a square hole on the ground. The one on the ground, I wouldn't call it a square hole. I would rather call it a square marking on the ground. We can see that as we perform the pradakshina. So if we look at this photo on the screen, these are statues that are present in one particular part of the temple on both sides. So you have big pillars and one statue on each pillar. So if I could point out, look, the elephant is standing in this photo. The statue that is immediately close to where the elephant is standing is a statue of Adi Shankaracharya, and it is around that spot, around that area, that Sri Adi Shankaracharya is believed to have fallen in front of the festive deity of the Lord. So somewhere around there, in there is a square marking on the ground, and in line that marking on the ground, there is a square hole in the ceiling right above that spot. So when the elephant comes in procession around the temple, the elephant stops at this spot for some time, and devotees are allowed to bow down and offer their namaskar or their obeisances to the Lord at this particular spot. Is called Sri Bali in Sanskrit. I will describe that shortly. And in Malayalam, locally, it is called Sriveli. So now, yes, let's have a look at what a day at the temple looks like. What are the different kinds of worship that are offered to Lord. So the temple opens at 3 a.m. every day. The very first darshan is called Vishwarupa Darshan or Nirmalayam, as it is called in Malayalam. In this darshan, the Lord is still decorated or adorned with flowers and decorations and ornaments from the previous. Now, this darshan, why is it considered so special? It is especially believed to be auspicious because celestial beings, the Devis and the Devatas and the Saptarishis or the 7 great sages, they are believed to come to the temple so that they can worship the Lord in solitude after it has been closed for the night. So after ordinary people or devotees like us, after the temple has been closed, it is believed that the celestial beings come down to worship the Lord. And therefore, seeing the Lord in that form, as soon as the temple is opened the very next day, in the morning, it is seeing the Lord in that form is considered to be very, very auspicious. After this darshan, the decorations are removed and the Lord is bath, a ritual bath using pure sesame oil. Taila Abhishekam. Taila is a Sanskrit word for oil, and Abhisheka, of course, is a ritual bath. So, Taila Abhishekam. And the third bark of a tree. The tree is called Vaka in Malayalam, and this ritual of removing the oil using this powdered tree bark, the ritual is called Vakacharti in Malayalam. Now, this powder is considered to have medicinal properties. I will be explaining more as to why this ritual of Vakacharti came to be performed at the temple. So, in the olden days, of course, there was nothing, they didn't use soaps or shower gels like we use today. So, it was these traditional herbal powders and traditional medicinal powders that were used for bathing in the ancient times. So after the oil is removed, the Lord is bathed using water poured from a conch or a shankha, and this ritual is called Shankhabhisheka. And this is then followed by an offering of puffed rice called Malar Naivedyam and Alankaram, or decorating the Lord with ornaments, flowers, and silk cloth. And after the Malar Naivedyam, the Usha Naivedyam, followed by two other pujas. And when during all these offerings and pujas, the sanctum sanctorum remains closed. Once the puja, sanctorum or the Garbhagriha is opened again. And after the Usha Puja or the morning puja, which takes place around the time of sunrise, when the Garbhagriha opens, the festive deity is taken out in procession around the temple 3 times on the back of the elephant. First round, so I mentioned there are 3 rounds in this procession. So in the first round, the head priest makes offerings at each of the stones, the sacred stones representing the Lord's attendants that I mentioned earlier. So the head priest makes offerings to each of these divine attendants. And the reason it is done when the festive deity of the Lord is brought out from inside is because the Lord wishes to witness and when his attendants are being taken care of. So the Lord is so merciful that he deeply cares about the respect that is given not only to him by way of the different pujas, but also to his attendants. So this ritual is what is I earlier mentioned as being called Shri Bali. Bali is a Sanskrit word for offering. So in Malayalam, this ritual is called Shiveli, and in Sanskrit, it is called Shri Bali. Now, this photo of Krishna that you see here on the screen, it's of course an artistic representation because the deity is never allowed to be photographed. But this is how the Lord is usually decorated at the time of the morning puja or the puja that takes place at the time of sunrise. He's dressed as child Krishna with just a silk cloth tied around his waist, holding a flute and butter in each of his hands. I must mention that the deity itself has 4 hands, but the priests are trained to decorate the deity of the Lord in different forms to make him appear differently at different times. So the decorations are made such that it appears that the Lord has only 2 hands. At times he is decorated as child Krishna, at times he is decorated as Rama holding a bow and an arrow. At times he is decorated as Krishna playing on, sitting on a swing. At other times he is decorated as Mahavishnu. So it is a delight really to see the Lord decorated in so many different ways and so beautifully. It really is an art. And this is taught to those who undertake training to be a priest at temples. And then the morning procession is then followed by an abhisheka of milk called Pal Abhisheka. Pal is milk in Tamil or Malayalam, and Abhisheka, of course, is a ritual bath. Now, this Abhisheka of milk is believed to signify the Govinda Abhisheka, which was performed by Indra to Sri Krishna after he lifted the Govardhana mountain on his little finger. So we know from the story of Sri Krishna lifting the Govardhana on his finger that he held it aloft for 7 days and 7 nights, sheltering all the people of Vrindavan from the torrential rains and the storms that Indra had let loose on the entire Vrindavan region. So at the end, when Indra realized his mistake of underestimating the greatness of the Lord. It is said that he came down with the divine cow, Kamadhenu, the wish fulfilling divine cow called Kamadhenu, and with her milk he performed a great ritual abhisheka to the Lord, which came to be known as Govinda Abhishekam. So this bathing of the Lord at Guruvayur with milk every morning is believed to signify that very Govinda Abhishekam. The Govinda Abhishekam, or the bathing with milk, is then followed by another Abhishekam called the Navaka Abhishekam, or sanctified water, holy water, poured from 9 silver pots. And this is then followed by yet another Naivedyam and puja called the Pandiradi Puja in Malayalam. This occurs up to this takes place from about 7:30 a.m. to about 9 a.m. After that, the temple, the Sanctum Sanctorum or the Garbhagriha remains open for darshan, and it then closes again for a period of about an hour in the afternoon. This is when the Ucha Puja or the noon time puja takes place. And once the temple opens for darshan after the Ucha Puja, it remains open for about an hour, and then the temple is closed up to about 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, when the temple reopens, there is yet another elephant procession that takes place with one elephant. And then in the evening, from about 6 to 6:45 p.m., the Garbhagriha is closed for worship. And when it opens, we have the Deeparadhana, or the ceremonial offering of lights. So lamps of different kinds are lit. Lit camphor is offered to the Lord. What we see here in the photograph, the deity, this is the festive deity of the Lord that is taken out in processions daily, as well as during special occasions and festivals. So this is the Utsava Murti, or the Utsava Vigraha of the Lord, which is taken out in procession. So that is the photograph that you see on the screen. And finally, the last puja of the day takes place from about 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. approximately. Of course, there might be certain variations in the time, but the general time frame they always try to maintain. So the night puja is called Attara Puja in Malayalam. So the Attara Puja Naivedyam and the puja take place from about 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And after this, the last Shiveli of the day, the last procession of the day takes place. That is the photograph that you see on the screen is a photograph of one such Shiveli that takes place. Of course, it's not possible because having seen the processions in person, I've been fortunate enough to see for myself, not just me, my family as well. We've been fortunate enough to see just how grand and beautiful this procession is. It's really, I mean, it's so mesmerizing that sometimes you really forget who you are or where you are, for that matter. It's the procession captures your complete attention. So this is just one photograph of the procession that takes place. This takes place every day, every night. The procession that takes place at night is the grandest of all, and for that reason, it is called Karcha Shiveli. So Karcha is a Malayalam word for grand spectacle. So that is why it is called the Karcha Shiveli. And this procession, again, there are elephants. So there is an elephant in the center. The tallest elephant stands in the center usually, and two slightly shorter elephants stand on either side. So there are 3 elephants. The festive deity of the Lord is carried on the back of the elephant in the middle. And of course, there are other people sitting behind the priest who carries the deity of the Lord. There are people carrying an umbrella. There are people carrying the white chamara or the fans, the white feather fans. And there is another fan. I'm sorry, it's not very clear. Alavatam, or it's a sort of hand fan which is made of peacock feathers. So it's really very grand. I will make it a point to share more photographs in later sessions. So once this procession is complete, there's a very unique ritual at the end of the day, which where the accounts for the day are read out to the Lord. So this ritual is called Ola Vayana. Ola meaning manuscripts, the palm leaf manuscripts, and Vayana meaning reading. So once the accounts of the day are read out to the Lord, the temple is then fumigated with a mixture of 9 herbs. So there are 9 sacred herbs, and these 9 sacred herbs, the sacred fumes or the sacred smoke from these 9 herbs spreads throughout the temple. So it is a sort of a purification or a calming ritual to provide a good auspicious ending to the day. This ritual is called Tripuga. Puga meaning smoke in Malayalam, and Tiru or Tri is a prefix which means sacred or holy. And once this Tripuga ritual is completed, the temple is closed for the day. So this is how, this is a typical day at the Guruvayur temple. These are all the different pujas and naivedyams and processions and the Deeparadhana or the offering of lamps, which takes place in the evening. This in itself is quite elaborate, but there are certain days when some devotees choose to make a special offering called the Udayastamana Puja. I'm sorry, I've not mentioned this in the presentation, but the Udaya is a Sanskrit word for sunrise, and Astamana indicates sunset. So there is a series of 21 special pujas that are performed from sunrise to sunset on certain special days. So devotees can choose to make that offering. So, but it has to be booked well in advance. And I believe, I don't know how far along it has been booked, but I believe it has been booked for at least the next 10 or 20 years. No bookings available. I'm not sure of the exact availability, but these bookings are made quite well in advance. The devotees may choose to make an offering on a special day on the occasion of a birth family member or on any auspicious day of their choosing. So these 21 special pujas, which are performed from sunrise to sunset, these are in addition to the regular pujas that are usually performed on any given day. So the typical schedule that we saw, this in itself is so elaborate, and you can imagine how busy the temple gets on the days of the Udayastamana Puja, and even more so during the temple festival or whenever during the time of Guruvayur Ekadashi, or also Prabhuji, when I recall Jayanti Mataji mentioning last time that you visited Kerala during the time of December, when the Ayyappa devotees were going on the pilgrimage. So during that time, it is even more busy because there are pilgrims coming from all across the country. And Guruvayur is such a major temple town. So most devotees make it a point to visit Guruvayur either before or after their darshan at Shabarimala. So
Thank you for
yes,
sharing
I
that.
have tried my best to explain what a day at Guruvayur looks like, the pujas and the worship that is performed.
Thank
Of
you.
course, I'm definitely not an expert on any of these matters, but I like reading about such details. So I've tried my best to share it with you in whatever way I could.
Thank you so much. That's really nice. And yeah, it'd be good to see some more pictures as well. I think
will
that
try.
somebody has
Yes.
suggested that in
Video.
the chat.
Okay.
So
Yes.
maybe later on you can do that.
Sure. Next time.
Yeah.
That is a very good suggestion.
Thank
The problem is pictures of the interior of the temple are
not allowed.
not very easy to come by.
Yeah, correct.
Because
correct.
firstly, photography inside the temple is not permitted.
Yeah. No.
Their rules are so strict that even if you have a broken mobile phone which doesn't work, which doesn't have a battery, it's absolutely of no use as far as you know. Even that wouldn't be allowed inside the temple.
Yes.
It's that strict. So all the few photographs that we managed to find, they are either by special permission or they are taken by one of the temple's official photographers, because of course the temple administration, even they would want to commemorate special occasions in the temple, like festivals or certain auspicious days. So they have their own designated photographers who are authorized to click these photographs and videos. So there are a lot of photographs and videos of the exterior of the temple that are available, because there, of course, there is no restriction.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. We can maybe take questions next week. We're a little over time. But thank you so
Okay.
much.
Sorry, I
Very
didn't
good,
realize
very
that.
good presentation.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
interesting to see and hear their daily routine and Shankaracharya's pastime, Govindam Astakam. We'll sing that one time. We have an expert singer here for whom we are going to be chanting the Nashinga prayers because she's feeling a little under the weather. So, Indulekha Maji, would you like to chant Nashinga prayers? Kavacham?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
I'll just get it on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shruti. So nice. You know, these temples I visited.